Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to talk about Inoue, and that time is fastly approaching. Stephen Fulton has already reached overseas, and he seems to be settling in quite comfortably. But this video is not about him. It's about Inoue. I will be doing a separate video for Stephen Fulton that will be coming really soon. But like I said, I want to focus on Inoue. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time right now, subscribe to the channel. Also hit that thumbs up button because it does help and it does support the channel. Let's see. Let's talk about this. So I've been looking at some video footage of Inoue hitting some mitts, some bags, and everything like that. And I think the whole time the question for me is, would his power translate? Now, granted, it's not a huge jump, but nonetheless, any jump is a jump. And there's a difference in how, you know, your power will translate for you, but also how your power will translate to the individuals who you'll be facing in that division up. And judging by the way he's hitting that bag, so here's the thing. If you've been in the gym for any considerable amount of time, you know the sound that a bag makes when it's really getting hit from, you know, and you can kind of gauge based on the sound that you hear what individual is hitting the bag. Meaning, is it a heavyweight? Is it a middleweight? Is it a lightweight? Is it a, you know, whatever? You will kind of gauge without seeing the individual. You can hear the sound that it made from being hit, and you can be like, oh, it's probably a heavyweight that hit that thing. Inoue is killing the bag in the clip, and I think the question is already answered just looking at that. Now, I know it's not concise just because he's not actually fighting, you know, his opponent, Stephen Fulton. So I know it's not concise. But like I said, if you've been in the gym any amount of time, you know the sound that a bag makes when it's really being hit, and it's being hit hard. And I got to tell you, I believe that the power of Inoue would definitely translate. And that was, for me, the biggest component of the fight. Why? Because he's already going to have the speed factor. He's a smaller guy. He's already going to have the speed factor. And he's a guy who varies everything. He can go 100% or he can go 50%. But he can do that not just in speed, but also in power. So if I feel like, personally, he's full charged. I feel like he's fully healed up. He was punching with both hands. There didn't seem to be any complications or anything like that. There also didn't seem to be any variance in the sound of the bag being hit, you know, for either hand. Granted, he was hitting it really fast, so, you know, the drummer beat was definitely beating, which is another good sign. But I think he's got the power. The question is, how will it hold up to Stephen Fulton's chin? So that's the question now. So my biggest question was, would his power translate? So, okay, I believe it will. I believe it has. I believe he's settled in comfortably. And I believe he's kept his speed, which is very important, because that's one of the things that's going to be on his side. But also, he's kept his power. And quite possibly, he could be hitting harder. Keep in mind, you got more weight on. He could be hitting harder. So it's not just, you know, it's one thing if you jump like 3-4 weight classes, then yeah, the likelihood of you holding on to that power is very slim, next to none. But it's not like the biggest jump in the world. Let's be honest. It's not the biggest jump in the world. So yeah, him holding on to the power is very realistic. Also, him holding on to the power and the speed, that's a deadly combination. That's a very frightening combination when you're dealing with somebody who's as skilled and experienced as Inoue. He's top tier and he's top caliber all the way around. And I don't care how you slice it or how you cut it. The guy is. He deserves to be on the pound per pound list. He deserves to be very high ranking on that list. He's earned it. And that in itself garners respect from his peers, but also from his enemies. You know, listen, once you finish the fight, you can be friends and, you know, you love each other and you're going to hug it out and kiss it out. But before the bout, you're enemies. And that's just what it is. And I think Stephen Fulton needs to really, I'm pretty sure he has. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure he has. He's not the type of guy to slouch when it comes to defense. He can get a little reckless, especially when, the distance has been closed. He can get a little reckless, but he can't afford to have a slack defense, especially early on in the fight. And I think early on in the fight, I think throughout the fight, Inoue is dangerous. But I think especially early in the fight, just because he's a very explosive guy. And I think he's the type of guy that if he sees an opening, not only will he go for it, but also he's got the speed that he can more than likely do what he's attempting to do. So that in itself makes him dangerous. This fight to me, honestly, is, in my personal opinion, a more skillful fight than Bud versus Errol Spence Jr. I think this is the most skillful fight that we are going to be seeing, we're going to be witnessing. And I'm not saying it's a better fight. I'm just saying skill for skill. Typically, when you deal with the smaller guys, the knockout ratio is a lot lower. So if you're watching, you tend to watch based upon the skill level. As opposed, you look at larger guys, you're watching the skill level, but more than likely there is a high percentage of knockouts. However, anyway, you get all of that. With Stephen Fulton, you may not get the knockout, but you're definitely going to get a high caliber fight. You're definitely going to see things that you typically don't see in the ring. We are talking about two very skilled competitors, and for that reason, we will be treated. I think the power of Inoue has translated. I really do. I think he already has the speed. I think he's a very knowledgeable fighter. I think he will find success on the outside personally. I feel like especially if you're a power puncher, I feel like getting a little distance between you just gives more power to the punch. So I don't necessarily think that Inoue cannot fight on the inside with Stephen Fulton, but I think he'll find more success, and the likelihood that he could get a knockout would be higher if he were to fight on the outside. Just gaining leverage on those shots, getting full extension on those shots. I think the likelihood of him getting a knockout would be a lot higher. You look at Deontay Wilder, you don't ever see him getting a knockout, I think once or twice. I think I want to say the Spilka knockout, that was close guard, kind of close type of knockout, and I don't feel like he got a full extension on that. But for the vast majority of his knockouts, he's gotten a full extension on his punch. So if Inoue stays on the outside, or he were to pot shot Stephen Fulton, I can easily see him giving Stephen Fulton a lot of trouble. He's got the speed, a lot of trouble. He's got the pop, because I do believe he's got enough pop with his power translating at the higher weight that he could just pot shotting could give Stephen Fulton difficulties and trouble, because it also make him think twice about whatever his plans are and what he would like to implement. So I think there's a lot of factors to be made, based upon just Inoue just holding on to his power, and also if he holds on to his power, remember, I just said it, he has the speed factor as well. Speed is on his side. I don't feel like Stephen Fulton is going to be his strongest fighting at distance against Inoue. I just don't think that. I think if he's going to make it more than competitive and possibly win against an Inoue, he would have to close the distance, because he would have to do something about the power level that's coming from Inoue. He would also have to do something about Inoue springing all over the place, because he's not going to be a stationary target. He will be stalking Inoue. He will be stalking, but he's not going to be a stationary target. He's going to be bouncing all over the place. He's really good at angles. Why in the world wouldn't he use it? Stephen Fulton is by far the most skillful guy that has been in front of Inoue. He's definitely going to use his angles, definitely. And I think in terms of solid, tough competitors, in terms of his ability to take punishment, I think Stephen Fulton is a grade A in that category as well. I think he's solid in that category. So it would definitely be in the benefit of Inoue not to be a stationary target and not just stalk moving forward, but stalk from side to side, springing over, pot shotting, but also keeping that distance at the same time. Overall, I think this is going to be an amazing fight. I feel like it's going to be an even more amazing fight because I truly do believe that he kept his power. I know I keep saying this, but you got to understand how important this is to the fight, that he kept his power, that his power will translate at a higher weight. It means a lot for both guys. It's going to vary how Stephen Fulton fights, and it's also going to vary how Inoue fights, how comfortable he feels or how strong or powerful he feels when he's in that ring. It's going to make a difference, a huge difference, actually. So I look forward to this. And like I said, there will be a video for Stephen Fulton coming really soon. As always, please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel. Also, drop a comment down below.